Welcome to the All Out Blitz Podcast. I'm Danny, and I'm here with my co-host Kyle. Some interesting situations have arisen around the NFL recently, such as the Michael Thomas DeVante Parker Instagram feud, Joe Flacco signing a one-year deal with the Jets, and Russell Wilson coming out and openly stating that he wants Antonio Brown to join the Seahawks, amongst many other things. So, Kyle, what are your thoughts on the Michael Thomas DeVante Parker Instagram beef?
Me personally, I think Michael Thomas is doing too much. I feel like he is a great NFL wide receiver, but overall, he needs to stop complaining and just keep to himself. I don't know. He goes on social media too much and does things that he doesn't have to.
Yeah, I agree. The Saints as a whole, they're still caught up on the pass interference thing, which is understandable because they should have been in the Super Bowl, but that was 2 years ago now, and they've just been emotionally compromised since, and they always seem to come out on social media and just start attacking players. For those of you that don't know, DeVante Parker responded to an Instagram post by the Fox NFL account that had to do with the question of whether or not being guarded by Stephon Gilmore was harder than guarding Michael Thomas. And DeVante Parker said that being guarded by Stephon Gilmore would be harder. And Michael Thomas responded, claiming that DeVante Parker is not a good receiver and shouldn't be saying such things because he has no room to talk, which I don't agree. I think DeVante Parker is a very good wide receiver, and he showed that this year finally, as he was finally healthy and finally got to showcase his talents after a few years. And he was playing on a prove-it deal with the Dolphins declining his fifth-year option.
I feel like DeVante Parker this year will probably do great things.
They have a chance. I think the Dolphins could surprise people, but I also think that they could just kind of stay their current course. They added a lot of talent over the offseason, and they really upgraded at positions of need, like the defensive line and the offensive line. And they're just going to be a young team. Ryan Fitzpatrick will probably play most of the season there to give Tua some time to fully heal and also just to let Tua sit back and learn from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And, with Preston Williams coming back, being on the other side, hopefully that'll open up some things for DeVante Parker to continue what he did last year.
I feel like the whole thing with DeVante Parker is he had Fitzmagic the whole year, and probably is pretty good for him, to be honest. Fitzmagic is kind of old, and the line was pretty bad, so Fitzmagic really couldn't do much in the pocket as he had to get the ball off fast. And in that Patriots game, DeVante Parker went off, too, against Stephon Gilmore, so.
Yeah, I think he had like 130 yards or something on Gilmore. He was just eating on him all day. And it was just good to see DeVante finally come out this year and play some football.
Honestly,
and the doubters finally took a step back on him. Anyways, so Michael Thomas, great talent, definitely a top 3 receiver at minimum. Most of you could argue that he is the best receiver. Personally, I think he's 2 behind Julio Jones.
And I think Hopkins is better.
Maybe behind Hopkins.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Him and Hopkins are kind of on the same level for me. And then I think Julio he's just a consistent player. He gets so much coverage in the red zone that they can't even get it to him because the other team's so worried about what he's going to do that he can't even get the opportunity to score touchdowns. That's why his touchdowns have been pretty low. And not this past season, but the year before, he went like 10 games without a touchdown or something. But
yeah.
He puts up the yards.
He has the yards, the only bright spot.
He's really the only bright spot on that Falcons offense besides Calvin Ridley, who didn't have an overly impressive year this year. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like the Falcons, they could either, with the 17 this year, they could definitely make a run for that last playoff spot. But at the same time,
You
They
gotta worry
can't
about
even
Todd
like.
Gurley. I don't know.
Yeah, they have no depth at wide receiver. Like they don't have a fourth receiver. I think their third receiver is like Russell Gage. Like they really like after Julio and Ridley, like it really falls off. And they lost Austin Hooper, and they're trying to make makeshift stuff with the offensive line. They're signing a bunch of first round busts. You know, they
Hayden
signed Gurley.
Hurst.
Yeah, they have Aiden Hurst there. Hopefully he can provide something for them. But um,
He's a pretty good player. I mean, like, it's not bad, but it's not like Austin Hooper good.
yeah, Austin. It'll be tough to fill the shoes that Austin Hooper left. He had such a great year last year. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. But now he's in Cleveland, so
Mm.
Hayden, he was playing uh, behind Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle most of the time, so he really never got his opportunity to shine. When he did get his opportunity, he looked pretty decent. Not to the first round grade that they drafted him at, but he looked decent, and hopefully he can provide something for the Falcons.
I feel like the Ravens don't really need him, so that's why they really got rid of him for that second round pick and the fourth round pick that they got.
Yeah,
Which,
they really got great value for what he put out.
yeah,
Anyways, all right, let's move on. Let's talk about Joe Flacco signing to the Jets.
now that
It's kind of
that is
interesting.
very interesting.
The Jets, they really want to solidify that backup QB spot after what happened with Sam Darnold and his mono, and they were scoring like 3 points a game. Right now on the team, they have Sam Darnold, who's obviously going to be the starter. He's shown his flashes. He's really never had anybody around him. His offensive line's been horrible. His best receiver throughout his career was Robbie Anderson, and he's nothing special, but he's gone now. He's got Denzel Mims, I guess. I get him and Brashad Perriman. Like that's not really very impressive. Anyways, behind Darnold, they've got Flacco now. They've got David Fales, who he's nothing special. And then they have James Morgan, who many people were questioning when they took him in the fourth round. But it's clear Joe Douglas wants to solidify that backup quarterback position. And since Douglas used to work for the Ravens in their front office, he's familiar with Flacco and what he provides. So he went out and got a veteran to sit behind Darnold. And just in case Darnold gets injured again, they can put him in there and feel comfortable with it.
I feel like the Jazz have, of course, the history of signing Ravens players, which, is interesting because the Ravens players that they signed aren't really that good, besides C.J. Mosley, which was a very good linebacker for the Ravens, but the Ravens seem to fill that hole now with Patrick Queen and Malik Harrison. But I feel like the signing of Joe Flacco is very good since Sam Darnold and Flacco have similar play styles. And I think if Sam Darnold goes down again, Joe Flacco will be pretty fine. I think Denzel Mims will be a good wide receiver for Flacco. I mean, he's not completely like Torrey Smith, but I mean, what else?
Big guy with some speed.
Big guy
Yeah,
speeds,
I can
exactly,
see that comparison.
exactly. And I just feel like, who else was Flacco going to go to? The Patriots? I mean, that would be very interesting.
I don't know. I was surprised that anyone signed Flacco. He's just, he's obviously elite. Elway said he's entering his prime now, so that really didn't work out. So Elway cut him, but you know, ever since Lamar was drafted, you kind of knew it was the end of the road for Joe Flacco after years of mediocrity. He hasn't been the
Yeah.
same since that Super Bowl run.
Which the MVP show went to Jacoby,
Yeah, Jacoby Jones had a great game in that game.
And I'm surprised Cam
That,
Newton hasn't been signed either.
yeah, I really don't know how. I understand he's got a personality, but if you think about it, like he's better than most of these guys. Like Trubisky, like why does that dude have a job and Cam Newton doesn't? Like, come on.
They have literally like these random players out here with jobs, and Cam Newton can't find
Yeah,
like come
like the Rams' backup quarterback is some no name.
on.
But the thing is, if they, the Rams are already paying Jared Goff, however much they're paying him, way too much money. They brought in Cam Newton. He'd probably want a little bit more than they can afford. With, they're just in a dangerous situation with the salary cap. But, they probably couldn't sign him. And even if they did sign him, he if he was healthy and he could use his physicality and prove that he's still got it, he's probably a better quarterback than Jared Goff at his best. But without the physicality, he's not really anything. His arm isn't that great. He's not a pocket passer. He really needs the physicality to really prove himself as a quarterback and make an impact. And when he doesn't have that physicality, he's not very accurate with the football, and it's just kind of sad to watch because he's got so much talent and he just can't put it to use when he's got that bum out shoulder that he has.
Yeah, I feel like Cam Newton is just. I mean, like, yeah, he had the MVP season, went to the Super Bowl, lost, and then after that, that was really it. To be honest, like, he got hurt, and when you're a scrambling quarterback like Lamar, but Lamar won't get hurt, he does his thing. But when you're Cam and you use your physicality and your speed mainly, and it gets taken away from you, you're just not going to be the same player anymore.
Yeah, but if he did play well and he signed with the Rams, which won't happen, but if he did theoretically and he played better than Goff, then they'd be paying Goff $30 million to sit on the bench. So clearly that's a dilemma that they can't have. So that'll never happen. I really don't know where Cam's gonna go. There's not many places that need a starting quarterback, and the ones that do need a starting quarterback aren't gonna sign him. So I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
Really don't know where he'd go. But speaking of players that are on the sign, Antonio Brown, Russell Wilson, came out openly stating that he wants Antonio Brown on the Seahawks. That'd be a pretty good wide receiver group with if they had him, Lockett, and DK. That'd be a scary wide receiver group. He'd still have no offensive line, which they just continue to neglect and not draft offensive linemen. The only offensive lineman that they've grabbed in the first round was Jermaine Ifedi, who's one of the worst players in the league and does not deserve a job, but the Bears signed him. Speaking of other first round busts that the Seahawks have had, they picked LJ Collier last year, who literally had like 3 tackles. Like, I don't know. He was like a 4th round talent. I don't know what they were doing. The year before that, they took Rashad Penny, he's injured. He didn't really do anything when he was playing. He showed some promise last year, but he got injured. And now they feel like he's not going to be healthy for week 1, so they went out and signed Carlos Hyde today. And it's just like, I don't really know what the Seahawks are doing when they're drafting. They had that one draft in 2012 where they got Russell, they got Bobby Wagner, got Bruce Irvin. They had one draft and they had the Cam Chancellor pick, the Earl Thomas pick, and Richard Sherman the years prior, and they've been picking these guys, these long shots, since like 5 or 6 of them worked out. They think that they all work out now, and they don't take the best player available, and they just go with their guy, and their guy clearly has not been working. And it's just like, what are they doing? Like, they haven't had anybody produce in that first round anytime, like in the recent past. And then they go out and trade for Quentin Dunbar, and then he gets arrested. And it's just like, I don't know what the Seahawks are doing, to be honest.
I feel as if AB goes to the Seahawks, which I don't think will happen, even though they have the history with their players. I think that it'll be very good for them, as I could see them make a shot for the Super Bowl if they get a star player like Antonio Brown. But you see a lot of teams want Antonio Brown. Well, not a lot, but like the Ravens would want him with Lamar and Hollywood being his cousin, And if AB goes to the Ravens, which I don't think the Ravens need any more wide receivers. They have Duvernay, they have Hollywood, Willie Snead. I think they're fine there. I don't think AB will go to a team this year. I don't know. I think if he does go to a team, it will be Seattle, as he wanted to go to Tampa Bay with Brady, but Bruce Arians said no, as they just don't need him, as they have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and they don't need that personnel on their team, because AB is a cancer, which you could see with the Steelers and the Raiders. He just needed to fix his act. He's a clown.
It's just kind of sad because he was like most definitely the best receiver in the league for so many years, and he was putting up great numbers every year. And he's such a great talent, and the fact that he's gone down the path that he has, where he's just in illegal trouble, he's just attacking everybody. It's just sad to see. But the Seahawks have had their fair share of personalities with Michael Bennett getting arrested. They traded for Dunbar. I'm not sure if they knew that, he would do what he do. I doubt it. But Richard Sherman, he wasn't very quiet when vocalizing his opinion. They just had guys that, like Brandon Browner, he was a hothead. They had him. The Seahawks, Pete Carroll's just a players kind of coach. Like he just deals with these guys. Like he lets these guys be who they are, and that's why like Seattle, like people want to go to Seattle. Like they just want the players coach. That's why I feel like Antonio Brown could be a good fit for the Seahawks, especially talent wise. Russell Wilson being such a great deep ball passer like he is, it's just he'd be a great fit there, not only physically and based on talent, but also just with Pete Carroll. I think that'd be a good fit for him if he wanted to. Russ wants it. I mean, Russ is the guy. He is the franchise. He's pretty much kept this team relevant. The last couple of he's had no offensive line. His only receiver has been Tyler Lockett. They tried to add Josh Gordon. That's another guy that's been in trouble that they signed, but he got suspended again, and he's trying to apply for reinstatement. I mean, it's just it'd be interesting to watch if Antonio Brown went to the Seahawks.
I think it'd be really good. I think that AB will provide what they need to finally make a run. Besides, not, I mean, they don't have an O line, yeah, but like the things that Russell can do in the pockets, pretty amazing.
Yeah, Russ, he's obviously the most elusive quarterback when it comes to rushing the passer. Obviously, Lamar is the most athletic, and he makes the guys miss the most. But when it comes to evading the rush, Russ is so good, and he's such a great playmaker, even when the pocket breaks down, when it seems like it breaks down every play. It's just, I feel bad for the guy because he's just such a great football player, and they just do not draft offensive linemen. And they cut DJ Fluker and Justin Britt, his only two decent ones, so now he literally does not have anybody on that offensive line besides Dwayne Brown, who's up there in age. So. They gotta put a bunch of first round busts in there. It's just sad to watch. But
I mean, their draft this year wasn't really good either, to be honest.
They passed on Patrick Queen for Jordan Brooks. I really don't know what they're doing out there, to be honest. And it's just, I mean, they have a lot of talent, don't get me wrong, but they just seem to not make the most of their opportunity, and they don't seem to provide Russell with enough offensive line help. It's like the Colts. Like, they were neglectful towards the offensive line, and they finally built one, and at that point, Andrew Luck had already been ruined. And so then when he finally had the offensive line that he needed, he was already sick and tired, and he was done, so he retired. Not saying that's going to happen with Russ, but it could eventually.
It's kind of interesting, too, because the Seahawks were going to trade Wilson a few years ago in the 2017 draft for the first-round pick to the Browns, which that'd be very interesting. if it would have happened. And supposedly they would have taken Josh Allen, which I don't know if I don't think he could put up with the line that Seattle has as good as Wilson could have. Or as he
I
does.
don't re- I don't really believe that story. Chris Sims always seems to say some stuff that doesn't happen. I like first of all, if the Seahawks did offer that, they'd be dumb. And if the Browns didn't take that trade, they'd also be dumb. So I doubt that ever really happened. But you never know in the league today.
Yeah, you don't know.
Like I'm sure no one ever thought that Antonio Brown would join the Raiders or Tom Brady would leave the Patriots. So I mean, it's possible, but I doubt it.
Very doubtful.
So Devontae Freeman, the Seahawks were looking to bring him in, and Devontae Freeman wanted way too much money. So that contract did not work out. And I don't really know who's going to sign him. It's been said that the Eagles were looking at him, but uh, I mean, Miles Sanders is a great running back, and Boston Scott's a great second guy. So like if I was the Eagles, I'd just let it be. I don't know where Devontae Freeman's going to go either, but and Davian Clowney's still unsigned. He wants way too much money. I mean, dude's a great playmaker, great defensive end, but hasn't really put up the production that would warrant the contract that he wants. I don't know who's going to sign him.
I saw today on Instagram that if Devontae Freeman does not get the contract he wants, he will just sit out the whole season. Which I think that'd be fine for him to do, but it's like the whole Le'Veon thing. I feel like he's just gonna sit out, and then once he wants to get paid, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. And the thing with that is Le'Veon Bell was such a better running back.
Yeah,
So if Devontae Freeman does choose to sit out the year, I don't know if he'll ever get a job again.
I doubt it. I really don't think he will. With the whole injuries he's had, it's kind of scary to sign someone like him.
Yeah. And even if he does get a job, I doubt he'd ever become a starter again.
I really doubt it.
Considering the running back today, the position is just valued at young, cheap guys. So I if Devontae Freeman sits out the year, good luck because
You're
I
not
doubt
getting a
you're getting a
job.
starting gig ever again.
Nah, there's no way. That guy is so bad now, to be honest.
I mean, he's not bad, but he's not
Good.
great.
He's okay at best.
Yeah,
I'd rather
he's got
have
nothing.
Justice Hill over him.
He's
Some
got
fast
nothing on
guys.
Kalen Balazs, the best running back in the league, with his 2 yards of carry. I mean, some of that was the Dolphins' offensive line, but he played well the year in his rookie year. And then last year, like 2 yards of carry like that. That's just
Mm,
how do you not break one for like 20 every once in a while? Just every single run was like 2 yards or 1 yard. It's just like, how do you do that?
I mean, I guess the O line is a big factor with the whole running game, but I mean, like you see Saquon with his line, which is pretty bad. How he does his thing still.
He he makes holes for himself.
Yeah,
He's just a playmaker. He's probably the best. He's probably the most talented running back in the league, but McCaffrey is definitely the
the
most
best.
impactful.
Definitely the best running back in the league. It goes McCaffrey, Saquon. I guess you could put Zeke up there, and I guess Derrick Henry you could maybe put up there too.
Yeah, after Saquon and McCaffrey, it's like there's a significant gap between them and the rest. I think Alvin Kamara is a decent guy, but he's been injured.
It's like
So
Dalvin Cook too. He was pretty good, but he's been injured a lot.
Dalvin Cook is really good when he plays, but they also give him a lot of touches. So
If I watched, if I
I don't
watched,
think he's the top guy.
if I watched Stephon won the lead, to be honest, he didn't get the ball that much.
Yeah, now he's in Buffalo, and hopefully he'll get some touches there. I mean, John Brown had a pretty good season as the number one guy, so maybe Diggs will work out in Buffalo.
I think he will. I think the first round pick they gave up for Stephon wasn't bad at all.
I mean, they gave up like 3 or 4 picks. I think it was a good trade on both sides.
Overall, yeah.
The Vikings got, they got his replacement Jefferson, and then they got 2 extra picks. And then the Bills, they finally got that star receiver they've been looking for since Sammy Watkins left. And I wouldn't ever consider Sammy Watkins a star there. So I guess really since when Stevie Johnson was in his prime, that's the last time that they had a star receiver. So
I mean,
hopefully Stephon will help him out there.
if you look at the Ravens, they don't have a star receiver either. I mean, but you got to think about the Bills don't have that good of a running game. I mean, they have Devin Singletary, which is a pretty good back. I think he'll do some great things this year.
Yeah, and they drafted Zach Moss. I mean, they're definitely, and their offensive line isn't that bad, and they've got a great defense. So the Bills are probably going to win that division.
Oh,
Josh
definitely.
Allen, he's got great athletic ability. He just struggles to throw the ball to his target. I mean, the dude is just so inaccurate.
I mean, he has an
Like,
arm, but
just,
like
oh yeah, he has a cannon.
they just
And
can't
he,
use it.
he flashes the potential at times, but it just like every time you watch him, it seems like every other throw is just going 10 yards over the receiver's head. So
That guy.
hopefully Stephon doesn't get frustrated with him because I could very easily see that happen
I feel like
if Stephon's wide open and Josh Allen throws it 10 feet above the guy's head.
if that does happen, Stephon Diggs could be the next Antonio Brown. But I think Michael Thomas is well on his way to be the next AB.
No, I don't think Michael Thomas is quite to that level. The Saints, they all act like that except for Breeze. Even Sean Payton acts like that. Sean
Yeah.
Payton whines and cries all the time. But that's just the personality of the Saints. Cam Jordan does the same thing. They're all great at what they do, but man, they are annoying.
Very annoying.
And they're just so caught up on the little things. And if something bad happens, they never let it go. And that's what I feel like their problem is.
Yeah, I feel
They're
like,
just so hyped. They're just so hyped up every year, and they get to the playoffs and they just have a stinker
and then they lose to the Vikings. I mean,
every year.
it is every year.
You Marcus Williams makes that tackle. They're going to Philadelphia, which
Definitely
they
winning.
probably could have beaten Nick Foles.
Yeah.
I mean, the Vikings were up 7-0 at midfield, and then Case Keenum threw a pick six, and that was it. So the Eagles were definitely beatable, but they gave up the Minneapolis Miracle, and then they had that pass interference the next year. They blew it in overtime. They still could have won the game. They blew it. And then this year, I mean, a Vikings team that a good team, but the Saints definitely should have beat them, especially at home. I mean, they didn't do anything on offense the entire game. Taysom Hill was better than Drew Brees, and he threw one pass. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like, they just can't seem to get it done.
Yeah, especially in the play. I mean, they do great in the regular season, but they get to the playoffs and they're just not the same team. I mean, I guess you could say the
Playoffs,
Ravens did that too, though. They weren't the same team in the
yeah.
playoffs this year. I mean, Lamar did what he could, but yeah.
The combination of overthrows and drops. It was just a rough game for the Ravens.
It was.
All right, Kyle, let me ask you this.
What,
Who is your sleeper team for this year,
my sleeper
for
team?
this upcoming season? Yeah.
Okay, my sleeper team will be. I gotta think about this one real quick. I feel like low key, the Patriots still could make the playoffs.
I definitely agree. I mean, the Patriot system is just a bunch of checkdowns and slants. Like, really, if Stidham just can excel at that, he's just going to be a game manager. I mean, you can win with the NFL level with a game manager, especially with that type of defense.
Yeah,
You
their
don't need
defense
a
is really
guy to
good.
throw bombs. You just need to eat your way at the defense and tire him out over and over.
Yeah, if
Eventually,
Brady can do
he'll
it,
score some points.
if Brady can do it at 40, then I think Stidham will be fine. To be honest, I mean they just go check downs the whole game. Their defense is very elite. I mean the teams they went against last year were pretty bad. I mean once they faced the Ravens, their defense really got tested, and their defense got
Yeah.
obliterated. I mean the game was
And
only
they also
close.
lost. They also lost a lot on the defense with Van
Kyle Van
Noy,
Noy,
Collins.
yeah,
They traded Deron Harmon. I mean, a lot has changed, but it's the Patriots. They'll find a way.
yeah. I mean they still have Belichick, very good coach. I think.
Yes, probably definitely one of the best of all time.
Oh, of course. I think he might. Yeah, he's definitely up there for best of all time.
Yeah, he's
I
definitely in the debate for the GOAT.
Oh yeah,
But
coach wise, but goat
I
is
had to
Brady.
pick if I had to pick a sleeper team. I don't know who I would pick. I don't know. I mean, I think that the Browns could make a run. I mean, Baker. It all depends on the play of Baker because they signed Conklin, they drafted Jedrick Wills, they signed Austin Hooper, so he's got all the talent that he needs there. They drafted Grant Delpit. You know they're building that defense. They don't really have a linebacker besides Mac Wilson, but the defense is good enough, I guess. They've got a good secondary. I guess it's an okay secondary, but they've got all the talent that they need on offense. Baker makes it click. I think they will make the playoffs. However, Baker is wildly inconsistent, and they just have a bunch of hotheads on that team. So they're not as hyped this year. Not nearly as hyped this year as they were going into last season. So I think they are a undervalued team heading into the playoffs or heading into the season.
I feel
Least
as
chance to make
if
playoffs.
the Steelers will finish ahead of the Browns, and the Ravens will too. So I just don't see the Browns. I feel like the Browns will go like 8-8 or 7-9. I feel like the Steelers defense will
Well, if you think
carry
about it,
them.
8-8 with the seventh team could potentially make the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I feel like the Steelers
The
could make a
Steelers, they were
run.
either 9-7 or 8-8 last year. I can't remember, but I mean, they would have made the playoffs with that record. So
I
it was this
mean,
huge miss.
yeah, and then the Bengals. You, I don't know. The Bengals are gonna go 3 and whatever. I don't see
I
Joe
don't know.
Burrow.
I think the Bengals really improved. They've got Jonah Williams. He's gonna play what is technically his rookie season because he never played last year. They've got plenty of receivers. They don't have a tight end, but they've got Mixon. They've got Burrow now. They signed DJ Reader. They signed Mackenzie Alexander and Trey Waynes. So and Von Bell. So they cleaned up the secondary. They added to the D line. They drafted 3 linebackers. I mean, that was their worst part of their team. So I think they're going to improve. Don't think it's going to be enough to get them to the playoffs, but I think it's something that they can build on moving forward.
I think that division will be pretty. I mean, it won't be a hard division, but it'll probably be pretty tight between the games, like the division games, because the
I
Ravens
think the
Bengals
Ravens
game.
still run away though.
I think the Ravens are gonna win the division. I think they could probably go 13-3, take the division, but they got to show up in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think if Lamar doesn't get it done in the playoffs this year, questions are really going to start to rise about whether or not he's a playoff performer.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. I mean, I feel like they could do something in the playoffs this year. I mean, I feel like everyone just saw the Titans Ravens game as a blowout. And then, I mean, I feel like Lamar should have played week 17, at least one half. I mean, yeah, it was very just not needed to play, but he just hasn't played football for 3 weeks, and then he goes into a playoff game, and he's just not the same player as it kind of showed, too. On one of the
but the
fourth
thing
downs, he didn't get, which he would usually get, as he picked the wrong hole to go to.
the thing with the Ravens is, I mean, all their games were blowouts. The only games that they lost were the ones that they went down early. So the Ravens really were never tested on a comeback the entire year. on a comeback basis. Like against the Chiefs and against the Browns, the teams they lost to, they went down early and never recovered. And then against the Titans, once again, they went down early and they couldn't find a way to recover. I feel like that's the problem with the running offense.
I mean, they
Is
abandoned
if
the
you're
run. They completely abandoned it. They only ran the ball like
That's true.
single digit amount of times. Like that's not good for the
That's
running
true.
team. And they passed the ball too
You're
many
right. They
times.
did abandon the run. So they like what I'm saying though is they went down early and they didn't know what to do, so they completely abandoned their play style.
Yeah, exactly. At you though. Yeah, they just
They
abandoned
just
it.
they just panicked, and Lamar clearly was not comfortable, and especially with the receivers that he had, like
Willie
receivers
Snead,
that he
Seth
has there
Roberts.
are not talented. Well, not they are talented, but they're not overly talented.
Yeah.
And Lamar is not the type of guy that should be throwing 55 passes or whatever he threw.
Yeah, that's way too many passes for Lamar. I think this year he'll be fine though with Duvernay. I mean, the amount of drops in the playoffs is insane. I mean, the first pick he had was off the hands of Mark Andrews, which Mark Andrews was hurt. I don't know how bad hurt he was, but he was hurt, which I understand, but still. And Lamar did overthrow the ball a little bit, but the amount of drops was insane.
I mean, they just didn't play well from start to finish.
I
The fact that they're letting Khalif Raymond cook them, like the average NFL fan does not know who Khalif Raymond is, and he cooked them for a 50-yard touchdown. I mean,
he turned Marlon Humphrey around.
Earl Thomas and Marlon, they just, those are supposed to be the leaders of that defense, talent wise and leadership wise, and they just both collapsed on the same play. And I think
Yeah.
that was it. I'm not gonna lie.
That one play.
That was the change.
I mean, I feel like
Well,
the
not really.
touchdown,
The
the first.
change was the Seth Roberts drop. I mean, the dude was wide open. He just dropped it.
Yeah, he killed his butt. Now it's on the
And then
Panthers.
they had they had the 4th and 1. They didn't get it. Then they had another 4th and 1, and Lamar threw probably the worst pass I've ever seen Lamar throw. So.
I mean, the Ravens could have won that game. There's just too many mistakes from start to finish.
Yeah.
I mean, the touchdown the Titans have, the first one that they had was super lucky, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Johnny Smith made a great play.
I mean, his left
Underrated player.
cheek was in. I mean, the only thing he kept in was his ass, but like, I mean, I guess it's a touchdown.
I mean, hey, the butt cheek that's a body part.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta give it to him.
Great play.
Very
Lots
great
of
play.
lots of athletic ability showcased there.
Very. Brandon Carr got cooked.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Ravens, they take these guys that aren't the most talented, but they really they have such a great system in Baltimore, and they make these average players look spectacular. Like they didn't have anybody on the pass rush besides Judon, and they would just with their secondary how good it was, they just blitz every play, and that created some sort of pressure. And this year they've got Calais Campbell coming in.
Derek
They
Wolf.
Yeah, Derek Wolf coming in. I mean, these are significant upgrades to that defensive line, and I feel like the Ravens are going to be even better this year.
I mean, yeah, they got really. I mean, Judon's a good player, but he is not 17 million worth of a good player. I don't know. I feel like he is not even like top 5 or top 10 at his position, and we're going to have to pay the Marlon and Lamar, Mark Andrews, all these players. I feel like Judon.
Yeah, they're gonna have to get the money.
Yeah, Judon's gonna have to go if he doesn't show up this year.
Yeah, Judon, but he is the best pass rusher on the team. That's for sure.
I mean, they lost Zedarius last year, and he went off in Green Bay, so you know.
The Green Bay, they've had a horrible offseason.
Horrible, completely horrible.
I mean, I understand the Jordan Love pick. I
For
don't
the
really
future.
understand why they traded up or why they didn't draft a receiver. And also, I don't I really did not understand the A.J. Dillon pick. They already have Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. I don't know what they see in A.J. Dillon. He was third-round talent at best. They took him in the second round. There were still plenty of receivers that they could have taken. I mean, they didn't really make any other standout picks. It was a horrible draft for the Packers. And they had a really easy schedule last year. They got lucky. They played the Chiefs, was their pretty much their only hard team on the schedule that they beat, and that was with Matt Moore. So they really didn't play anyone. They beat the Vikings, but they always beat the Vikings. And their defense is not that good besides the Tooth Smiths. And Devontae Adams is
Alexander's
really
pretty
the
good.
only weapon that they have on offense on the outside. So.
Yeah, so I don't know what their offense is gonna do. I mean, the three running backs isn't bad to have, but you have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's not Lamar. You're not gonna take a whole running play style now out of nowhere. You need another wide receiver with Devontae Adams. I mean, this is this is stupid. I mean, they traded up. They didn't have to trade up for Jordan Love. I mean, who was gonna take him?
Yeah, the Dolphins weren't going to take Jordan Love. The Seahawks weren't going to take Jordan Love. The Ravens weren't going to take Jordan Love, and the Titans weren't going to take Jordan Love. So I don't know why they moved up. Maybe some other team was looking to move up, but it just didn't make any sense.
That made no sense at all.
Well, I guess that'll do it for our first episode
First
of the All Out
episode.
Blitz podcast.
Yes, there.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments, and hit the subscribe button. And let us know in the comments what you want us to talk about in the future.
All right, boys. Peace.